Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the worst books I've read so far in 2023. So once again, welcome or welcome back. I'm so happy you decided to click on this video. So like I said, today I'm going to talk about the books that I've liked the least in 2023 so far. I should preface this by saying I think I have had a pretty good year so far when it comes to books that I have read, whether or not I've enjoyed them. I think this list is pretty much every book that I didn't like. I really didn't need to narrow it down. I just went through my Goodreads from the beginning of the year and kind of just was like, any book I didn't like, and then I was planning on like cutting it down to the ones, but I only had 8 that I was like, I really didn't like this. So I think we're doing pretty good so far with that this year. I'm gonna do these in chronological order from when I read them. I will maybe do a bigger ranking towards the end of the year with like all the books I liked the least in 2023. But for now, I'm just gonna start from January and go on to now. So let's get started. The first book that I read this year that I really didn't like was called Regrets Only by Kieran Scott. Now this is kind of like a suburban mommy drama that should be something I loved, but this was not it for me. It follows a woman who was a screenwriter in Hollywood and something happened. We don't really know till the end what happened, but she basically had like a breakdown and moved back to her hometown and with her mother in, I think, Connecticut, and with her 8-year-old daughter. So she's living as a single mother, and she like ends up running into her high school boyfriend who's married now to like the queen bee of the PTA, and there's all kinds of drama about the PTA. There ends up being a murder, and like honestly, I didn't feel like any of the characters in this book had very distinct personalities. Nothing got me invested. And I'm not a PTA mom because I don't have any kids, but like I just can't wrap my head around a scenario where someone would like knowingly commit murder because of like they want to be the president of the PTA. Like I feel like my mom got like bullied into being on the PTA because nobody else would step up and do it. So like these moms fighting over these positions, I'm like, really? Is this really what happens? But once again, no personal experience, so maybe so. I just found this book to be a little ridiculous, and then also just like very boring. This felt like the Great Value version of Big Little Lies, and it was not for me. The next book that I really didn't like was called The Friendship Breakup by Annie Catherine. So this one is really a bummer because this was written by a like fellow bookfluencer. So, you know, I really wanted to like it and be able to like promote it, but I pride myself on being honest about my reviews. But, you know, I feel like I owe it to everyone to make sure I'm telling my true opinions. So this had nothing going on for like 70% of it, and then it kind of just the last 30 was over the top. This is just basically about a mom who has her child and this other mother who like just stops talking to the main character, and like she has no clue what she did or why they're not friends anymore. And it's very frustrating, and like this whole beginning of the book, the main character, whose name is Fallon, is just like so needy, and like she's kind of like a try-hard. I'm like, girl, clearly you're not wanted in this friend group. Stop trying. You're embarrassing yourself and you look desperate. It was just hard to read about. And then I can't really remember what the like thing was but like they talk about it, and shocker, they work it out. It was very basic and just it wasn't good. Ooh, I do also remember there was some misogyny that kind of goes unchecked. That's a hard pass for me. So yeah, this was just a miss overall. The next book that I really don't like will come as a surprise to no one. It is She Started It by Sean Gilbert. This has gotten some better reviews now that like it was a book of the month pick, but I really didn't like it. It's about these 4 women who have been friends since childhood, and they get invited on a bachelorette trip of a girl that they were like really cruel to and bullied in school. And they're all like, wait, well, why are we being invited on this trip? But they do it anyways. And there's just so much that does not add up and like makes no sense. And the plot twist at the end was just off the wall ridiculous, and I just had a really hard time believing it. even in a thriller where you're already like suspending some disbelief, honestly, there are 4 main characters, and I know like 70% into this book, I still could not remember who was who, because none of them had unique personalities. None of them really had anything identifying. They were just pretty generic characters. So that was just a really big bummer for me, because I did think it sounded good based on like the plot synopsis, but yeah, this was not a favorite. I think that had this not been a NetGalley copy that I was given to review, I would not have finished it, because that's how annoyed I was. All right, next one, Don't Come For Me, Happy Place by Emily Henry. I know that some people are just loving this and are saying it's Emily Henry's best work, and I love that for them, but for me, this is by far the worst book I've read by her. I have read 3 of her 4 adult novels. The only one I haven't read is People We Meet on Vacation, and I'm hoping to get to it this year, although it is also seemed to be a lot of people's least favorite, but I'm still trying to try to get it, because I'm going to try to get through all of my old Book of the Month books that I've never read. So this to me was just incredibly frustrating, because without spoiling anything, I feel like every conflict in this book could be resolved if people just talked to each other. And it seems like for a group of friends that have been together since college, they should be better at communicating. I guess I should give a little bit of background. It's basically about this group of friends that have all been friends from college, and they go every year on to this like beach house that one of the parents owns. And this is gonna be like the last year that they do this, because the parents of one of the girls are selling the beach home. So it's kind of like a last hurrah. And so our main character has been dating one of the guys like in the group forever, and they were like madly in love, soulmates, whatever, but they broke up, but they didn't tell anybody else in their friend group because they don't want to ruin the trip. So, you know, they're put in the same room, and it's like sort of fake dating, like sort of second chance romance, and just a lot of miscommunication and adults acting like children, and it was not for me. The next book that I really didn't like this year is You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. So for me, this book was just ridiculous. I've only read one other book by this author, and that was One of Us is Dead, which I enjoyed, but I at the same time could recognize that this book was chaotic, and there was a lot of suspension of disbelief involved in my enjoyment for that one too. It was certainly not like an award-winning novel, but like I was entertained. This one I was like not even entertained. It's about a woman who's from, I think, New York City, and she ends up renting an Airbnb in Wyoming because she needs to kind of like get away from everything. When she gets there, she finds out that she actually just booked a room in someone's house as opposed to like an entire property. Oh, but it's okay because, you know, he's hot. So that's whatever. There's like not very good cell service. There's not a lot of like ways to talk to people. Like I think the Wi-Fi is bad or something like that. So these two are like having a nice little time together, and then the last woman who stayed on his property had like disappeared, or she was missing, and so it kind of goes from there. This is not what I would call a thriller. This was like a romantic suspense. This was more romance than anything else. And like maybe if I had known that, I wouldn't have picked this book up, because that's not something I'm interested in reading. But I think that was a big issue of this for me, was just I had expectations that were just not what I got. So I'm sure that the right person maybe would like this if you like reading romantic suspense, but like I just found this book not for me. And also the chapters are really short, and so that is my praise for this book, because we love a short chapter. Next is The New Mother by Nora Murphy. I think I ranted about this quite a bit on this channel already, but you get to listen to it again. This book is like 90% a lady complaining about having a newborn and not letting anyone help her, which was just extremely frustrating. So it is like it says, it's about a new mother who has a super fussy baby who won't sleep, and the mother, Natalie, is just having a really hard time existing because she's so tired, and she has a lot of trouble breastfeeding, but she refuses to not, or like to pump. So this guy lives next door, and he's a single dad, and he has like an older kid, like middle school age. and he starts to like come over during the day to like give her a break and like hang out with the baby, and like that's very nice, but this is a married woman who like keeps this a secret from her husband, so that's weird. Basically, I mean, all she does is talk about how she's so tired and her husband won't help her, and he's like, okay, I will, let me help you, I'll get up in the middle of the night, and she's like, no, he won't take the bottle from you, so I have to stay up so I can breastfeed. But like, she's not ever really tried to pump and like get, anyways, I don't want to be too like critical of, I understand that's extremely frustrating to, you know, not be able to sleep after having a baby and feeling really alone, but it was a lot in that she wouldn't accept help, and, you know, you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, and it felt like she was very much resisting any help. There's a thriller part of this, or sort of thrillery suspense aspect, but like, I was so sick of this character and her like deception to her husband about this man that lives next door that I was just kind of like checked out, and it hasn't retained in my brain. But yeah, this was meh. The next one I didn't like is Social Engagement by Avery Carpenter Forey. So this is about a woman who just got married, and 6 hours after her wedding, her marriage is already failing, and it's kind of told in flashbacks about how she got to this point. And all of this is done like looking through her Instagram feed and her camera roll. Sounds like a cute concept. It wasn't a cute concept though. There were an abundance of unlikable characters and a lot of fat shaming, which I will touch on in a second, but this was not good. The ending was also really abrupt, and I just felt like a little blindsided by it. So the main character, Callie, has some extreme body dysmorphia and bulimia that's graphically described on page, which for me was pretty triggering. And while she is directing all of her fat shaming comments to herself generally, it's still really hard to read and just like very triggering if you have issues with your body or food, honestly. It was, for me, it was hard to get past that. This was like a kind of just a contemporary character-driven novel, and I feel like there wasn't any character that was interesting enough for me to like get invested. And I totally think that you don't have to like the characters to enjoy a book about the characters, but I need them to at least be interesting, and I just didn't find that in this book at all. This was like probably the worst of the worst. I think this is the book I've liked the least this entire year so far, but we'll see if it holds up through December. And the last one on this list is The Breakaway by Jennifer Weiner. I did just speak about this in my wrap-up from June, but Jennifer Weiner was one of my very favorite authors, but her books are going in a direction that I just feel like I don't think I gel with quite as much. So this one's about a woman named Abby who loves riding bikes, and she's dealt with like body issues her whole life, but honestly more because of her mother than how she actually feels about herself. So she's fat, but she's very active, and like she's just fine with who she is. She is she's dating this man that's a doctor, and they actually had gone to fat camp together as kids, and now they like reconnected as adults, but he had bariatric surgery, so he lives a very different life than her. He is very, you know, aware of what he eats and how much he eats because he can't eat that much. He's into fitness, and she's into her biking, but she eats like a normal person. So she gets asked to host this bike trip from New York City up to Buffalo, I think, and she ends up running into this guy that she had a one-night stand with before she met Mark, who is the doctor. They had like this magical night together, but then she left without like leaving a phone number because she didn't think he would like her once he saw what she looked like in the daytime. And so I really didn't like this because there wasn't really a lot of like chemistry in the beginning when they had their one-night stand. And I mean, I guess you could say that there was like some sort of chemistry, but it was just so hard to believe that like they would both be so like shook by seeing each other again after a night. I mean, it feels like the kind of thing that you would be like, oh yeah, hey, that was kind of embarrassing to run into you now, but let's carry on. Especially when she's with this guy who is seemingly perfect. And if you don't like somebody, you don't have to keep dating them. But it doesn't really seem like she has those feelings until she runs into this other guy again. And it just feels weird to like throw away your whole like long-term relationship for a guy you have met once. Anyways, I don't feel like this is spoiling, and I did say it in my other video, so I'm just gonna say it now. She keeps using infidelity as like a trope in her books, and that just sits so poorly with me. It just really bothers me. It makes me angry at the characters I'm supposed to like, and I guess sympathize with them. Like, I get that it sucks if you are in a moment that you really would like to sleep with someone, but you're still with someone else. I don't know. That just rubs me the wrong way, and it really makes me dislike a character that I am supposed to be liking, and it just makes me like check out of the book. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'll still keep reading her books, but I might give her just like one more shot, because these newer ones have just not been doing it for me. The last one that I read by her that I like really, really loved was Mrs. Everything. And that's like completely in a different genre. It's like historical fiction. So honestly, if I need to read more Jennifer Weiner, I should just go read her backlist, because I think those books are better than what she's come out with lately. But if none of those things bother you, I mean, you might love this. It's well written and it's an interesting story. It just, things bothered me. So those are the 8 books that I've liked the least in 2023. I'm hoping that, you know, I don't even have time to make this video in December, because all of the books are the same, because I've loved everything I've read from now until the end of the year, but don't know if that will be the case. Anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on any of these books, or what your least favorite books are of the year so far. Leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!